It is 5:31. Calling a special meeting of Bucyrus City Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
McKeever.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Wireball.
Here.
Potter.
Here.
Shirk. Spiegel.
Here.
Young.
All right, granting permission for visitors to speak. Seeing none. The special meeting was called by Mr. Mayor regarding staffing and budget issues.
Yes, I would like to turn it over to our auditor, Kaylee Lewis.
Hi guys, I'm going to try to keep this as neutral as possible. I just wanted to bring up that our Safety Forces Personnel Services takes up 82% of our general fund. In 2019, that amount was only 62%, and this is causing us to push our budget to its limits. Since the 1/4% Safety Forces levy is relatively new, we haven't had much time for that revenue to build in the fund. And for the month of August, we have only raised an additional $49,159.14. There may be some companies' payroll that are still not withholding properly, but we don't know that for certain. Currently, we need an additional $545,000 in total funds to finish up 2023. We can transfer the remaining ARPA fund dollars, $424,898.25 to the general fund, but we will still need to find an additional $120,101.75 to fund the fire department personnel services to the end of the year. As stated earlier, the new 1/4% Safety Forces levy, along with the tax credit cap, only led to an increase of that $49,159.14 for the month of August. The first half of September has brought in only $22,186.89. So if we anticipate an additional $44,000 a month for the rest of the year, we can tell the county auditor that we have an expected revenue increase of $225,000 for the year in the Safety Forces levy fund. We could then appropriate those funds into the account, but we would be left with a low cash balance to start 2024. Also, we only have one solid month to even base those projections on. The next few months, we could bring in more money, but we could also bring in quite a bit less. And I believe it's in our city's best interest to find solutions that can be enacted now to head off potential financial shortfalls. For the future, keep in mind that we can't rely, if we use those ARPA funds, we can't rely on them next year, and we won't have any other outside revenues in 2024. We will be relying on similar general fund amounts, but predominantly on the additional Safety Forces levy to fund the fire department. Next year, fire will need an additional $332,060 over this current year's budget. If the levy stays steady, it will bring in an additional $528,000. If police officers and not dispatched receive a similar raise to the fire department during these contract negotiations, we will need an additional $163,300 from the Safety Forces levy. That would leave us with only $32,640 left from the increase. That leaves no room for new hires, new cruisers, retirement buyouts, or equipment. So these are every option I could think of for how we could handle this problem. We could do layoffs, but we would not like to do that because the city is self-funded, meaning that we would still have to pay 50% of the employees' wages and then have to pay overtime for other employees to fill in those positions. We could revisit the tax credit, but we won't truly know how the credit cap will affect our revenues until after the next tax season when our out-of-town workers file their city income taxes. An additional levy wouldn't help us currently, and with only one complete month of data, is it fair to ask the taxpayers to increase that amount based on what small set we have? Council could rescind their ordinance allowing the Safety Services Director to set staffing limitations for safety forces. Council could amend their legislation without relinquishing control to administration and set their own staffing levels. We could appropriate the $120,101.75 from the 1/4% Safety Forces levy once we get enough funds, but that would leave us with a very low cash balance to start 2024 in that fund. Some number breakdowns, what we will get, what we need to pay fire, that for $545,000, what we can transfer from ARPA, $424,898.25. That leaves that $120,101.75. If we take our estimated revenues for the general fund and subtract the expenses, we have $243,895.89. If we appropriate from outside of the current budget, that $120,000, it would leave us, the remainder to put toward carryover in 2024 for the general fund would be really low. It would be $123,794.14. What we could get through the safety forces levy would be, on our current estimates, are $528,000. What we would need for fire, and that's just the breakdown to show that what we need fire, what we may need with the police, that would just leave that safety forces with the $32,640. Some other maybe pertinent numbers. Our EMS service revenues for 2023 projected is, and that includes EMS services plus the joint ambulance district, is $695,111.03. The cost as of August this year in salary and pension for fire and both the general fund and safety forces levy was $1,612,548.07. The projected salary and pension without benefits for the end of this year would be $2,059,822.10. And if we compare that to 2020, which was the last full year where we had the third-party ambulance service, it was $1,137,337.42. So since 2020, our spending on salary and pension has increased $922,484.68. If we take into account the EMS revenues, that would still put us under $227,373.65. When we compare our ambulance costs when we contracted out in 2020, it was $109,500, and in 2019, it was $97,000. The service is greatly improved, though. We sampled 405 random calls out of 19,000 total calls to the fire department between January to September to gauge call volume per shift. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., there was one call every 2.28 hours. From 7 p.m. to midnight, there was one call every 2.88 hours. From midnight to 7 a.m., there was one call every 6.17 hours. And from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., there was one call every 4.8 hours. That's it, and if you guys have any questions, feel free.
My only question would be, could we get all that information emailed to the council
Yes.
members, put on documents on demand, the website, as well as placed in the minutes?
Yes, I was going to send it to Miranda, and then I was
Okay.
in the room, and I was like, oh, I'm running late.
Okay.
Do you have, so I know we're in negotiations with the police union,
Excuse me.
what it would be if they got a comparable contract as compared to what the fire department got? Like numbers that we would have to pay?
So I just did 10% as a raise. That's what I did, just 10% of what the current police salary was.
Because I know that we've been talking to them, and obviously they're
I have heard nothing. I
wanting
was just
in line with what the fire department want, and I think those numbers would be helpful as well.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, first I'd like to thank Callie for such a good report there and everything. That was very thorough, and be looking forward to seeing that. But I've been watching this over time, and I thought, in my mind, that next year that we would have to take the tax credit back because of our situation. But after hearing just that little bit, and of course I'll look at it, but I think we need to do it before the end of this council. If it's not in committee, or if we take it out of committee, I'd like to put that back. I would like to revoke the entire tax credit, and if next council, next year, wants to give some of it back, then let them, but I'm leaving office, the mayor's, a lot of us are leaving office. I don't want to leave office and leave the city in dire straits. Now, the money will be there, or will be able to come in, and if the next administration, the next council wants to give some back for that tax credit, then let them do that. But I don't want to walk out those doors and leave us in dire straits. So whatever we got to do to put that in, back in committee and talk about that.
So you are making a motion to put the tax credit
Yeah.
revocation on to
Budget.
referral?
With that.
Is it in open projects?
Budget and income tax is what's listed from 5/1 of '23.
So does that cover it?
So, yeah, I don't know, but if, all we got to do is say, hey, yeah, if I can get a second, and then it'll be back in, and we're sure it's in, and then we can talk about it, so.
That's up to you guys. We can do a second, or we can assume that it's,
I'll say it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Granting permission for visitors to speak on the information provided.
Chad Schwemley, Fire Chief. I just want council to all know that none of the figures or the run numbers or anything was discussed with me prior to it being presented.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. May I have a motion to excuse Ms. Sherrick and Mr. Young?
Second.
A motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Myers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. McKeever, a second by Mr. Spiegel. We are adjourned at 5:43.